Rarely is the question asked, is our children learning? And find out that the literacy level of our children are appalling. Why don't you volunteer? Why don't you help mentor a child how to read? And you're working hard to put food on your family. My state of the union, or my speech to the nation, whatever you want to call it. You see, free nations are peaceful nations. Free nations don't attack each other. Free nations don't develop weapons of mass destruction. I think war is a dangerous place. It'll take time to restore chaos. Not one doubt in my mind that we will fail. I didn't realize I had dyslexia. Tariffs and barriers everywhere are torn down. There's an old saying in Tennessee, I know it's in Texas, probably in Tennessee, that says, "Fool me once, shame on you. But fool me, we can't get fooled again."
Regardless of whether a crime was committed, do you still intend to fire anyone found to be involved in the CIA leak case? And are you displeased that Karl Rove told a reporter that Ambassador Joe Wilson's wife worked for the agency on WMD issues?
We have a serious ongoing investigation here. I would like this to end as quickly as possible so we know the facts. And if someone committed a crime, they will no longer work in my administration. This was a lengthy trial on a serious matter, and a jury of his peers convicted him, and we've got to respect that conviction. First of all, I had to make a very difficult decision. I weighed this decision carefully. I thought that the jury verdict should stand. I felt the punishment was severe. So I made a decision that would commute his sentence.
In the Bush administration, I mean, if you go through each one of them and say, where were you when the golden hour came? Dick Cheney, fly fishing, Karl Rove, nowhere around. You have Chernoff going to Atlanta on a disease prevention kick. I mean, you see Condoleezza Rice shopping.
What was Dr. Condoleezza Rice doing that looked very poorly? She was at Ferragamo's buying shoes.
Official White House email right here at the White House may have gone missing.
There were, between March of 2003 and October of 2005, apparently over 5 million email that were not preserved.
Before the Senate Judiciary Committee today, Karl Rove's former deputy Sarah Taylor refused to answer many of the questions asked of her about the firings of those 9 federal prosecutors. Former White House counsel Harriet Miers won't even be showing up to a similar hearing tomorrow in the House.
Well, I respectfully decline to answer the question.
I don't recall being a Senator. I don't recall specifically I don't have any recollection about the mechanics of a. I don't recall making any. I don't recall ever saying. I don't recall ever doing that. Senator, I don't recall whether or not I made the decision that day. I don't recall.
To Karl Rove, the President of the United States has just decided he's going to exert executive privilege and not allow his top political advisor to testify before Congress.
When Congress threatened to block the reauthorization and expansion of the USA Patriot Act in 2006, President Bush announced that he would still enforce the law even if it was not a law. That, by its definition, is dictatorship. When President Bush was caught secretly paying off reporters and newspapers and television stations across the country to the tune of $1.6 billion in 2 years, the Governmental Accounting Office declared it illegal. Every single action by itself was a felony, and there were tens of thousands of instances. President Bush simply said that he was above the law, and it didn't matter if Congress said it was illegal, he was going to continue the practice. When a leader declares themselves above the law, you are living in an official dictatorship.
Read that sentence again. A secret government agency has told our Justice Department that it's not allowed to investigate it. and the Justice Department just says okay and drops the whole thing. We're in some serious trouble here, boys and girls. Here's the question. Does it concern you that your phone company may be voluntarily providing your phone records to the government without your knowledge or your permission? If it doesn't, it sure as hell ought to.
Verizon confirms to Congress it has handed over customers' phone records to the FBI and other federal agencies 720 times since 2005. No warrants, no notification. Verizon, the nation's second biggest telecom company, revealing it turned over information to federal authorities a total of 94,000 times since January 2005.
This investigation that last year revealed the existence of a secret Pentagon database with details about anti-war protests and activists. Now, newly disclosed documents reveal who some of the targets were and what other U.S. government agencies may have helped to monitor American citizens.
During a New Jersey appearance by First Lady Laura Bush, the mother of a son killed in Iraq disrupts the event and then is arrested by police outside the room. A solitary protester on an empty sidewalk, arrested.
Now going to be placed under arrest.
Peaceful protesters herded far from the Democratic convention in Boston and arrested by the hundreds and sent to a holding pen during the Republican convention in New York, some held without arraignment for 3 days.
The Patriot Act, Homeland Security, the Military Tribunals Act, and other legislations are all completely and entirely designed to destroy your civil liberties and limit your ability to fight back against what is coming. Currently in the United States, unannounced to most brainwashed Americans, your home can be searched without a warrant, without you being home. You can in turn be arrested with no charges revealed to you, detained indefinitely with no access to a lawyer, and legally tortured, all under the suspicion that you might be a terrorist.
In early February of 2006, members of the British government leaked documents that the White House admits are authentic. Known as the White House Memo, it is the minutes of a pre-war meeting between Prime Minister Tony Blair and George Bush in the Oval Office. The minutes contain the discussion of a classic false flag operation, where Bush tried to lure Saddam into war using UN aircraft. The memo also contained details of President Bush's plan to have defectors claim they had seen weapons of mass destruction that didn't exist.
Well, it is perfectly true that we now know that the evidence, both in the United States and in Britain, which was put before the people, turns out to be wrong. It was known to be wrong. It was fed to Parliament, it was fed to Congress in order to get the necessary support.
But we don't want the smoking gun to be a mushroom cloud.
President Putin sternly warned the United States against considering an attack on Iran.
So I've told people that if you're interested in avoiding World War III, it seems like you ought to be interested in preventing them from having the knowledge necessary to make a nuclear weapon.
And he presented him with America's highest civilian accolade. It has infuriated China, and President Bush had a message for Beijing.
World War III.
China urges the US to immediately take effective measures to eliminate any bad consequences from the wrong acts of the US side.
World War III.
Turkey is warning of serious repercussions if US lawmakers take further action on a controversial resolution.
George Bush carried out 9/11. Do you think some people in a cave, were able to have NORAD stand down? Do you think that people in a cave were able to have all of this happen?